Hi, I'm Greg.
Hi, I'm David.
Welcome to 3D Make It.
Today we bring you something exceptionally large.
CR10 Max.
Let's go.
So today we're going to be unboxing the CR10 Max.
We're going to show you some build quality and a little bit of instructions as we go along.
Let's get started.
We cheated. We already opened the box.
Kinda.
We cut the tape. All right, fancy card.
What do we have here?
Oh, it's a card. We'll show you the card after, but look, card.
And it's okay.
It's deemed okay by the factory. Now, fun fact that I didn't know before that I learned from the side of the box is creality means create reality. What?
Okay, so we have our nozzles,
0.8 and 0.4.
SD card and SD card reader, and the calibration acrylic piece.
Isn't the leveling tool in that one too?
Nope.
Okie dokie. Yeah,
Oh yes, it is. 0.2 micron leveling tool. We've got our nice, wonderful spool holder. Got our high quality USB cable, micro.
Micro.
We've got our screws to put the gantry up.
Got some gantry stabilization pieces probably for the triangle. We've got the T-bars to hold the gantry straight. We get a deluxe Creality scraper. A fancy dancy Creality spool of white.
That says Creality on it.
Fancy. And then we also have our wrenches, our zip ties, the manual, a power cable, and a partridge in a pear tree. Like all 3D printers we unbox, Greg likes to take them apart.
I do. It's nice to see what changes they make in these. So let's see what's inside.
Let's check it out. All right, so the quickest screwdriver in the West has the back plate off. And we see electronics.
What do we see? We've got a Meanwell 750 24-volt power supply.
Oh, yeah.
And I do not see anywhere that there is a voltage switch, so that would mean that it is self-switching.
Yep, so you don't have to worry about picking your voltage.
So that's
Not
good.
to say there isn't a power switch, because there is. We're talking about 110 to 220 sort of thing.
Correct.
Looks like we got a little power supply.
75 watt.
It's Meanwell again, and
Yep.
this is quite common on a lot of new printers. They're splitting two power supplies to run the board and the printer, which is good.
We have a MOSFET from Creality. It's their standard looking one.
Yeah. And then we've got the touch display,
Yeah.
the Annoy Beefy speaker.
It's not just annoying. It's big.
It's huge.
It's you don't have to wash it first.
No? It's gonna work. A nice ribbon cable.
Yeah, this is they've really simplified the board a lot.
All right, and what's the version of the board there?
Well, it's tucked under here. It says Creality 3D V 2.4,
Awesome.
and it has a serial number on it. I did, just for note, it does have EXP1 and 2, so you can still connect the older displays to it if you wanted to.
Now, when you're in here, you got to be careful because everything has hot glue except this one. And
Yeah.
It's pulled up a bit. So that's our BL Touch. And it was just pulled out of the seats. That might have been a problem, but it's back down. But everything else has hot glue, just like all their other ones.
Now, I don't know this. David, do you know this or not? These have the 2208s,
Yes.
TMC drivers.
They're not in UART.
Not in UART.
No.
So they'll be quiet, but you can't adjust the voltage on the fly and that sort of thing, which is interesting. And they do have all the pots right there on
Yep.
board. So,
Standard.
all right,
Cool, let's
so
button her back up.
that's it.
We're reading the manual. It's just kind of off camera. We're going to give you nice pictures of the manual though. The first step is to use the M420 head cap screws, 4 pieces, to fix the control box to our gantry and the bottom of the base. So we're going to do that. Okay.
So let's find those screws.
Need 4. Oh, probably. And now, one thing that some manufacturers do is they give you actual sizes. This one doesn't. This looks like 20. This looks like 40. It fits. If the screw fits, put it in the hole.
I've got an office joke, but I'm not going to use it.
I know. You don't want to get demonetized from all of our non-monetization.
Thanks for all the subscribers.
We love you guys. We just hit 300 and you are all amazing.
Okay, so now, where is?
Here's the back screws. Here you go,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Vanna.
You know, I make a good man. I have the hair for it. Whoa!
Didn't do this.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
There. Now you're.
So while Greg's installing it, I'll just push the bed forward, making sure his fingers are in the way. Just kidding. Alright, so that's nice and tight. The next step, now these printers are awesome because they're so simple, because we've got the bottom assembled in like 2 seconds. We're going to put the gantry on, and it's hard to screw that one up. But the gantry goes together, and we just put our screws to the bottom hole there. So the next step is going to be get the gantry.
Harder to get off the open the package than it is to get the gantry going.
And just remember, if you get confused, the gantry, the hot end goes forward so you can see the fan on the front.
All completely off.
Only a little bit. Awesome. We'll get them started and then we'll tip it probably to do the rest. Now when I do my CR10s by myself, without backup, I will tip the printer and just lay it on its side and then put these on, but this isn't too bad. I'll just get the screws started and then I'm in, so if we want to tip your wing a bit. So one more step. We have to take these threaded rods that came unassembled, put the threaded screw between them, and just screw those together. And once those are together, there's threaded pieces that go on the end. You put a nut first, then you put the threaded piece with the eyelet. On the other side, again, it's a threaded piece with an eyelet, but you thread one of the screws that you have left through. And then on the other end, you put the T-nuts and 2 more screws.
Here is our assembly. I'm going to slot it in up top here. And I'm going to line it up with the edge. And then I will get David to hand me a lovely, lovely Allen key.
Here, let me hold this so you can see here. I'm helping.
Alright, so I'm just going to slightly snug this in. I'm not going to tighten it up because we have to make some adjustments. So we've got our eyelet and the nut here. The nut isn't fully tight, so we can adjust it because we need to line it up at the bottom. So we need to be able to slightly adjust it, and then when we're done, we'll take the little wrenches and lock it into place. So let's see how close we are. We are darn close.
Not bad.
Not bad.
We did the other side first just to see how it would go, to be honest, and it took us like a minute. We figured it out. Very easy.
There we go. So get it in, get the nut in place and locked, and then
Go right in.
tighten the. I wonder.
Do you need more play?
Yeah, I need a little bit more,
Yeah,
just because of the nuts.
Yeah. Set in funny. So the bottom has less room than the top a little bit, but ideally your nuts are gonna line up right up below the bars where they are, so on that edge there and on that.
And it kind of, because I didn't tighten this all the way, it kind of self-aligns. So we'll now tighten these up.
Now the brackets for the bars, they do end up flush to the edges. So just remember to flush it up, and then once we're
And
getting
then
ready,
lock your nuts to stabilize the.
tighten it in, yep. Alright, so our next step is just going to be attach the T to the cross beam of the gantry. So it's fairly easy. They give you 3 screws. They look like 20s again. It just slots in, and then we put it into the gantry. Check the Allen key over there.
You gave them all T.
Oh, I have all of them. So when you first tighten them up, I'm not going to go super tight. I'm just going to get it snug to the frame. And then once we get both sides on and we're convinced that the gantry's level, we'll come back and tighten them up.
So we're gonna assemble the spool holder, and I am going to put it on backwards just to kick us someone off,
Yeah, backwards.
because if you put it on backwards compared to the manual, you can actually fit a larger spool on it.
Get it by tongue, but you put it on the right way, you're just flipping the standing out.
Correct.
So what he's done is he's just made the filament path come behind the hot end of the extruder, which is just fine.
And I've seen a number of people put it on the other way, and then they can't get.
I don't know. You had it.
I don't know where the correct side.
Oh, that's it. Did it?
I've seen a number of people. No, it's still not the right side.
Bigger, smaller, what?
In between.
No,
Between.
no,
I need one.
We don't have any region.
Yeah, in between.
Oh,
Okay.
is that one working?
Maybe. Yes, it doesn't seem like. Yeah, it's.
Okay.
Ta-da!
Some people love the top spool holder, some people hate it. I use it, but I always make sure that my filament path is clear down to the extruder, because if it's not, you're gonna grind filament. That's a whole other topic. There's some Z cables that are underneath coming from the control box, and you just pull them out and plug them into the stepper driver. Now getting your hands in there is a trick. If you push the bed forward though, you can get right in, and they're just your standard cable there. The next step is going to be the ribbon cable. Now, the ribbon cable should come around and in. And then it's keyed, so you can only plug it in one way. And you want to be careful and look at all the pins before you plug it in, because if anything's blocking or these are bent, you're just going to break it further. And you don't want that. So you plug those in, and then underneath the ribbon is one more connector. And so this one is a little bit trickier, but again, it's keyed, it only goes one way. So line them up, and
It's easier to put that one in the future.
oh, probably. But you can get it either way, and then that one just sits on the side. You want to check all the cables, even in the ribbon, that they're nice and set. Sometimes that's an issue, but not on ours, so it looks all good. One thing we'll mention right now is when we did unbox this, at the top of the box, Greg found
The end stop switch metal piece. It had fallen off.
Greg found
The end stop metal piece. I reinstalled it. It was not broken. It had just fallen off. But we could have easily missed it in the box.
So you want to make sure to look at everything.
We found it, and
now when the X gantry moves, it's gonna stop. In theory.
it probably would have stopped before, but
Well, it would have made a terrible gurky. But
I just wanted to mention this other little cable. That is your BL Touch wiring.
yeah, everything else is steppers and fans, but this is
That's-
touch.
That's the upgrade they started doing once they got rid of the capacitive.
Oh, cool. All right. So, welcome to story time. We finished all the steps for the setup. Everything's plugged in. The cables was the last step. Now, if we flip the page, we see this step. Nowhere does it say, however, to turn the power on. So let's assume to turn the power on. Greg, if you please. We have the lovely clicking of the BL Touch. A quiet, quiet fan to soothe you to sleep.
This is the Creality CR10 Max.
CR10, Creality. Man, that noise creates reality in me. Alright, so got a nice screen. Looks like it's easy to touch. ET phone home. Volume settings. If you're in an apartment with some buddies, I'd turn that all the way up. That way you're sure that your printer is always safe. So we have leveling, disable, refuel. Ooh. Language, but thankfully ours booted up in English. A lot of them that come, even in North America, boot up in Chinese, so ours was cool. Printer info. CR10 Max. So the firmware version is 1.7, and if you look at the BL Touch firmware they've released on their website recently, they're 1.6.
No,
But
for the
they're up to
CR10
1.7 on the Max.
The Max is a 1.7.
But it does give you the print area, which is a whopping 450 by 450 by 470. So it's slightly smaller than the CR10S5, but there's so many advantages to this printer.
The heated bed heats right to the edge.
So your whole bed is 450 by 450 heated, whereas the other larger versions, the S4 and the S5 of the CR10S, were just the 300 by 300, and they were banking on that aluminum sheet to be a heat sink. So this one, full heat, which means you could print large objects and hopefully not work. Alright, we're going to manually level the bed. That's what it says in the manual to do. So hit temperature, and we're going to heat up the bed. And we're going to heat up, and we can use the automatic settings, and we're just going to heat up to PLA. Aw. It makes me so happy inside. Ding! I feel like I'm Mario, and I just squished a Goomba. No? Okay. So it's heating up. Automatically the bed goes to 45 and 195. So the reason you want to heat it up is because when the printer's cool, it's not thermally expanded yet. So your nozzle is actually smaller than it would be at temperature, and same thing with your bed. Now, when we took it out of the box, everything did look fairly tight belt-wise. Greg just tested them again, so we're okay there. The bed felt like it moved okay backwards and forwards. So, not bad. It's not bad at all. We'll just do our wheel checks while we're heating up here. So this one is too loose. So after we level our bed, we'll do our eccentric nut and just tighten that one up a bit. Other than that, hey, 1 out of A bunch isn't bad. Can you reach it? I think it's on the bottom on this, because it's the bottom center. So it's worth noting that hot ends are hot, and probably while it's hot is not the best time to adjust the nuts. Greg can attest though, I don't follow that rule and just burn myself all the time. He does. So if we look at the printer, just in the time we were talking, we're at temperature.
That's pretty impressive,
It's
actually.
pretty quick. So we could put an official time under the video when it's heated. Alright, so what we're going to do next is just check the level of the bed. So in the manual, the first thing it says is to move the knobs as far as you can to the right. So we went ahead and did that. So the leveling knobs are just underneath on each corner. So the next step is hit settings. And then after the settings, you're going to hit leveling. And in the manual, it says leveling mode, but the button just says leveling. Just to be clear. It's probably just a change in firmware. And it's going to go clickety, 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 clack, clack, clack. Now, once it auto homes, there's a few things we have to do. The first one's going to be, we're going to shut off the auto homing. So just
Auto bed level.
Yep, auto bed leveling, sorry. So flip that. The next thing is we're just going to take a piece of paper. This is just printer paper. I'm going to slide it underneath. And now what we can do is use the baby step up and down and get it so that it's close here. But what we're going to do is we're going to hit aux level. Right. Nailed it. And then in the manual, so it will auto home again, but in the manual it tells us to start at number 2. So we're going to go 2, 4, 3, 5. It's good to start at the corners and then work your way in. You're going to do it a couple times. So it'll probably take 2 or 3 times before it's actually level, and then our center should be fine. So let's hit 2. ET phone home again. Okay, there we go. And it's gonna move it and then move to the 2 position, which the 2 position is this corner. And I'm gonna put my paper underneath. And I can slide that paper freely. And most of us have done this before now, paper leveling. So all we gotta do is take the knob and turn it. I'm gonna turn it to the left. Now that's clockwise for those paying attention. And I'm gonna just slide the paper until I get a little friction and I can't move it, and bring it back just a bit. And that's good. So we're gonna rinse and repeat this on all the steps, and we'll be right back.
Auto leveling. Whoa.
Let's check the distance of the probe to the thing. Oh, that's just the probe. Did you push?
And one below.
Oh, so,
One below.
so it's, I bet you it's gonna give us a visual picture.
Well, it had the mesh, but it had the old mesh.
Yeah, so basically we're building a new mesh. So what was that button called? Check level.
No, it was measures out.
Probably measure level. Should have said check level. I like it.
It should say build mesh. right?
Yeah, it should. So, I mean, it's building the mesh right now, which is awesome. But like I mentioned before, if we put a G29 after our G28, it's gonna have it in there, and it'll just do this before we print. There's some people that say it's a waste of time to build a mesh every time you print. I will argue to the teeth. I have a BL Touch, and it doesn't take me any more time to let the printer do a level. And then you're guaranteed.
If you have it set right, when the BL Touches first came out, it took a lot longer.
It did, yeah.
In
'cause you had
between
to
probes.
yes, no.
So, look,
Yeah,
our
so
mesh is built.
we hit that measuring button and it
It's
built our new
interesting.
mesh. So it kind of shows us that we're floating around the 1 to 1.5. So it looks like we're high on this corner and we're lower towards here. So there's a couple things this could mean. One, that we really suck at manual leveling. And I know we don't suck at manually leveling. The other thing, the aluminum bed's not flat. And we all wish it was flat, but this is what an auto leveler overcomes on printers of this size without glass, is the uneven bed. So cool. Took a while, but that's because we went slow. If you were to do it at home, I bet you it's less than an hour build. We did discover a few things along the way, and we pointed them out. One, a little bit of QC problem with the micro switch. It was broken. We managed to fix it though, clipped it back on. This guy here, if you twist it and then zip tie it, it's gonna stay right on there and hold it up a little better. I think we're still gonna have to do some top adjustments.
I
but-
also rotated the wire loom
The
stuff,
yeah.
harness stuff,
Yeah.
and that definitely helps keep it up.
So, just some discussion points we had while we were building it. Not that we printed on it yet. Feature-wise, though, it's pretty big. But you can look at printers like the Chiron that Greg has. It's pretty big too, and
It is.
Greg's actually going to have a BL Touch on his soon.
Yes,
And
next,
that puts
next
it in-
video.
Yeah, woohoo! Spoiler alerts. And that actually puts this in the same class as
Yes.
that one. And so when you're looking at price-wise, how much was the?
I got a pretty good deal. I got it for like $5.89 Canadian. And then if you add a $60 BL Touch and they are
1.3.
1.3 with
So
2908.
they're like call them 60.
Yeah, 60. So that's
So-
still under $700, under $800.
So this bad boy, and we live in Canada, so that's 7 Canadian. And this guy here retails for almost 14 Canadian.
Yes.
So double the cost, you're getting 5 centimeters more on the build plate. I don't know, it's a tough sell straight out, but we're gonna print on it next. We're gonna have that video coming up really soon for you.
Yeah.
And we're gonna compare some of the quality between the Ender, the 10S, and the big boy here, and some SX4s and a Chiron. So again, you guys have been awesome. If you made it this far, thank you. Click like, subscribe, follow us for the new videos, ask questions in the comments, throw us suggestions. You guys are awesome. Have a good one.